Hey guys, Ella Nehru here and welcome back to my area of the YouTubes. This video today is a time lapse of my digital art piece for the final day of MERMAY. Hooray! Firstly, again, I seem to have a bit of a trend with this. Please excuse my croaky voice. I did some expos and such the last couple of days and had to really use my voice a lot, and I didn't realize how much I was using it, and I can feel it kind of disappearing, and I wanted to get this video out so hopefully the different voice isn't too weird. But holy fish sticks, I'm so grateful to have done this piece for the final day of MERMAY. This video I wanted to share my thoughts on MERMAY, which isn't anything groundbreaking. I just really wanted to share with you lovelies that take the time out of your day to watch my videos. I found out about MERMAY last year from another artist here who I am so proud to cheerlead for, and that's Aniko. From following her about 2 years ago, she is the reason I found out about Inktober and MERMAY. Last year I was a bit late to the party and I only drew one mermaid, which happened to be on the very last day of May. So in honour of that, I actually redrew that mermaid for day 31. Last year's mermaid is this one here. I was super proud of this piece as it was the very first time where I was colouring the lines instead of using black lines. As within my traditional art, I like using black lines, and sometimes I feel like I rely too heavily on them to add depth to my artwork, especially with watercolour or Copic art. I'm not saying this because using black lines is bad. I love using them. And when drawing my maid here, the black lines added a professionalism and crispness to it that I wasn't achieving without those lines. So I'm going to continue to use black lines, but I just enjoy testing myself in different ways. My digital art has evolved to using coloured lines instead, which, for the lack of a better way to articulate it, I just really like it. So for 2019's MERMAY challenge, I decided that all but my last piece was going to be traditional. Mainly because I am slowly accruing a supply of traditional mediums through my Sketchbox subscription that I thought maybe I should actually get in there and have a play. Which is one of the reasons why I really enjoyed the MERMAY challenge. So to segue delicately into it, the reasons why I enjoyed MERMAY. Firstly, it was the process of purposefully setting aside time to be creative. This practice is so important so that we are actually setting good habits. It's the same with being a musician or really any hobby that you want to pursue. If you actively set aside time to do the activity, you spend time on it and grow your skill. Secondly, the MERMAY challenge gave me the chance to use my traditional mediums. I love digital art. I think I'm a digital artist first and foremost, but it was really nice to tinker with traditional mediums. Because obviously you don't have the same tools as you do with digital art, like the lasso tool. So it was really good to practice with my watercolours, Copics, paint and other markers and learn how they play together and what are the best ways to lay them down to get the effects you're looking for. How do you layer it? How do you make it do what you want to do? Thirdly, the opportunity of doing this process helped me realize the traditional mediums that I enjoy using. I learned that I really enjoyed using watercolors, Copics, water-based markers like brushables, and inks. I tried tinkering with acrylic paints in my Mother's Day piece, but I found it really frustrating and it wasn't doing what I wanted it to do. Eventually I'd like to learn how to use acrylic paints, and I know there are so many tutorials out there that I can follow, but I just found it interesting because it was kind of like the Copics and watercolors just suited my personality and my processes within my brain. MERMAY also gave me the opportunity to observe my own progress in a short span of time. The difference between my first traditional piece and my final traditional piece was really cool. While sometimes we might not actually see the progress based on the final piece, I did notice that in my sketching process I wasn't spending so much time on that and I was able to get ideas out relatively quickly. I think the anomaly to this would be the one of the naga because of the extra limbs. I just didn't know what to do with them. But it's really cool to be able to see that progress and how you're growing as an artist. Another reason why I enjoyed MERMAY was the feeling of accomplishment through a daily activity. There was a sense of accomplishment in drawing every day and also getting to the end where I was basically 99% of the time consistent, and that is a really good feeling. Being brave and sharing my art was a huge thing for me this year, so this time I actually shared my art with my friends and family on Facebook. Normally I just stick to Twitter and Instagram, but this time I just wanted to put my art out there. And it was really nice because I got some really beautiful comments from people, and I figured if I wanted to pursue art as a side gig or a career, I need to share my art. People aren't going to know it's there unless I share it. And I got some really nice feedback from people that were saying, oh, I really enjoy seeing your mermaids on my feed. It's really cool. It just changes it up a bit on my Facebook. So that was really lovely. Lastly, MERMAY is fun. It's just that. It was just fun drawing mermaids. I love fantasy creatures, and mermaids are just so flowy and interesting, and you can do so many things with them. So the ultimate thing I can say about MERMAY is it is fun. However, there were things that I found tricky about MERMAY that weren't necessarily deal breakers. It's just some reflections on how I was feeling throughout May. Firstly, there was about 1 to 2 hours taken out of my day every afternoon. I work full time, and by the time I actually get home from work, there is a limited amount of time for my art or gaming before I have to get dinner ready or do other household chores, or even just spending time with my partner, which really is just the reality of life. So sometimes I would draw stuff while watching shows on Netflix with my partner after dinner. However, the consequence of that was I couldn't really record those pieces just because the lighting was really poor and I was using the coffee table. Whilst it is a reality for 1 to 2 hours taken out for those art pieces, I just had to take steps to make sure that my emotional needs were being met too, because I wouldn't be with my partner if I didn't love him, so. I had some recording finickiness with just trying to get these pieces. So obviously with traditional, I needed the camera, and at the start I was using my phone, and previously in my Inktober pieces I used my phone, but then I'd need a reference, and normally I use my phone for references, but if it's recording I couldn't use it. Anyway, but I ended up finding an old webcam, which did make my life easier. But I suppose another thing was there were times where I chose not to record, and that was really good for my emotional well-being as it took away another pressure and I could just get into the artwork. Another thing was some days I'd have some really low creative juices. I wasn't gelling with the prompts on the official list, and sometimes I'd feel a bit lost before drawing something. Although I found once I put the pencil to paper, something would come up every time. A counterpoint to this and not using the official prompt list was that many of the artworks were a reflection of how I was feeling at the time, and it was really nice to be able to express myself that way. Lastly, it was just some real life things that just added pressure to the whole scenario, and this is mainly to do with my work. So for one weekend during May, I did need to work over a full weekend, which meant I had to make a choice. Stay up late to do an artwork for the sake of MERMAY, meaning I would be exhausted the next day, which would impact my facilitation skills and impact the experience of the people attending the sessions, or leave it be and catch up on Monday. A huge reflection on this point for me was that you need to give yourself permission to take a break. I think that we as humans, we tend to put so much pressure on ourselves that we drive ourselves into burnout. I'm not saying we should just give up, and I fully acknowledge that sometimes things get a bit tough before they get better. I just wanted a chance to reflect that it's okay to pause and even make compromises, like I didn't do the artworks on the weekend, but then in my time off on Monday, I did 3 of the mermaids. And I found the quality of my artwork was so much better. I mean, I did one on Friday of my two nieces, which I really liked, but I feel like it wasn't my best because it was 10 o'clock at night and I was trying to do a mermaid piece. And even on the Saturday and Sunday, because of the scenario, I was up until 11:30 at night, and trying to be creative and push that creativity while you're tired and exhausted from the day, it's not healthy. But like I said, the challenges were more so inconveniences than deal breakers. Doing any monthly challenge is definitely a marathon, not a race. But I'll be real, crossing that finish line was so satisfying. You know what, I am so proud of myself. Like, I know that sounds really stuck up and what have you, I don't really care, because really I am enjoying this process of growing as an artist, and I can see the growth that I've had in just how I do lighting and how I do shading, and it's nice to just feel good to create. I used to be such a perfectionist and put so much pressure on myself. It's exhausting, and to actually have the ability to recognize how far you've come from when you started, it's just refreshing and invigorating and freeing, really, because you're not trying to set yourself to standards that are impossible to reach, because no one's the same. Our experiences collectively alter who we are. So anyway, a bit deep for a Sunday. So in regards to the piece, I used last year's mermaid as a reference, so then I was using a similar pose, and as you saw, I dropped the colours because I wanted to keep the colours the same. But as you can see, I made some little changes, such as instead of the awkward looking clam bra thing going, I've kind of just gone with like this speckled fish scale thing, which funnily enough a friend on my Facebook commented that she loved the upgrade from clamshells to glitter boobs, so that was kind of funny. I had fun playing with the gemstones actually, so that was really cool. What else did I do differently with this one? As you saw, I had a bit of an awkward boob placement with her right boob, and what had happened was I sort of finished colouring and I was looking at it and I'm like, something's weird. I don't know what it is, but something's weird. And then I realised just with how her boob was placed, it was just a bit to the side, and thank goodness for the lasso tool, which is why I do like digital art. So trying to fix that traditionally would have been a nightmare. Yeah, I don't really have much else to say. But that's it from me. Mermay was great, and I think if you're looking for a way to grow, monthly challenges are a really good way to push your limits and have a chance to purposefully be creative. You know, sometimes it's good to have a bit of flexibility, but then sometimes that structure is just a really good way to test yourself creatively. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and hearing my thoughts about Mermay. Like I said, nothing groundbreaking, but I just wanted the chance to share it with you. So thank you for gracing me with your presence, you fine human. And until next time, bye!